devotees who are spreading Krishna consciousness. Probably a high percentage of the people that give up spiritual life are because they, not just, well, we're talking about people that become devotees. So out of those that actually become devotees and take up spiritual life seriously, probably a large percentage of them, they struggle in spiritual life because they commit offenses against other devotees. So there's a very important verse which, there it is. Okay. Which number is it?
1.
Huh? Sadhava Hridayam Mayam. Anyone know which verse that is?
9624.
Huh?
9624.
96 what?
24.
No, it's 9668. 9468. 9468. So this verse really sums up why it's so important to not blaspheme a pure devotee, because, well, we'll say the Sanskrit and we'll read the verse. So please repeat. Sadhava Hridayam Mayam. Sadhunam Hridayam Tvam. Madanyatena Jananti. Naham Tebhyo Managapi. So we won't repeat it again. The pure devotee is always within the core of my heart, and I'm always in the heart of the pure devotee. My devotees do not know anything else but me, and I do not know anyone else but them. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Since Durvasa Muni wanted to chastise Maharaj Ambarish, it is to be understood that he wanted to give pain to the heart of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For the Lord says, Sadhava Hridaya Mayam. The pure devotee is always within the core of my heart. The Lord's feelings are like those of a father who feels pain when his child is in pain. Therefore, offenses at the lotus feet of a devotee are serious. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has very strongly recommended that one not commit any offense at the lotus feet of a devotee. Such offenses are compared to a mad elephant, because when a mad elephant enters a garden, it causes devastation. Therefore, one should be extremely careful not to commit offenses at the lotus feet of a pure devotee. Actually, Maharaj Ambarish was not at all at fault. Durvasa Muni unnecessarily wanted to chastise him on flimsy grounds. Maharaj Ambarish wanted to complete the Ekadasi Parana as part of devotional service to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and therefore he drank a little water. But although Durvasa Muni was a great mystic Brahmin, he did not know what is what. That is the difference between a pure devotee and a so-called learned scholar of Vedic knowledge. The devotees, being always situated in the core of the Lord's heart, surely get all instructions directly from the Lord, as confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita 10:11. Tesham ivanukam patam mahamagyanam jamtamaha nashayam yatmabhavasto gyani dipena bhashvata. Out of compassion for them, I, dwelling in their hearts, destroy with the shining lamp of knowledge the darkness born of ignorance. The devotee does not do anything not sanctioned by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As it is said, Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vigeha Nabhujaya. Even the most learned or experienced person cannot understand the movements of a Vaishnav, a pure devotee. Therefore, no one should criticize a pure Vaishnav. A Vaishnav knows his own business. Whatever he does is precisely right, because he is always guided by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, you probably know the story about, anyway, if you don't, most of you do. Ambarish Maharaj, he was a pure devotee. He was fully engaged in worshipping the deity, bowing down and using his legs to go to the temple, using his hands to clean the temple. He was fully engaged. And Durvasa Muni came along, and he had thousands of followers, and he expected to be fed. And Maharaj Ambarish, he was fasting for Ekadashi, and he didn't want to break his fast before he finished the right period. So he drank a little water, and then Durvasa Muni got very upset, and he created a big demon which attacked Ambarish Maharaj, and then the Lord's Sudarshan Chakra chased Durvasa Muni, and he was very afraid. So he went. First of all, he went to see Lord Brahma, and Lord Brahma said, "I'm sorry, I cannot help you. I worship Lord Narayan, so you'll have to try somewhere else." So then he went to see Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva said, "No, I'm not the supreme. I worship Krishna. The only person that can help you is Krishna." So then, Lord Narayan, Krishna. So then, Durvasa Muni, he went to see Krishna, Lord Narayan. And then Lord Narayan, he said this verse. Said, I'm under the control of my devotee. The devotee is in my heart. I am in their heart. So if you offend a devotee, you're actually offending me. So anyway, then the Lord told him, well, you have to go back and you have to beg forgiveness at the feet of Maharaj Ambarish. So this is the only way you can be exonerated from an offense at the feet of a Vaishnava is by, sincerely apologizing and begging for forgiveness. And because the devotee is forgiving, the devotee will forgive the offense. So, sometimes we might be a little bit envious of somebody. Somebody might be more advanced. You see, in spiritual life, people are coming from where they left off in their last life. So some people are more advanced from their last life. And we think everybody's equal because we all join at the same time, but it's not really like that because some people are just way ahead of other people. And that sometimes causes envy. And so, we have to be very kind of satisfied with who we are. Because we're all conditioned. Some people are more conditioned than others, but a devotee learns to be satisfied with who they are and not hanker to be greater than they are. So, we're trying to become great. We're trying to do something great. We're trying to distribute lots of books. We're trying to change the world. We're trying to help people, but some people just have more capacity. So in my life, I've seen, people who join at the same time as you, or even after you, but they accomplish a lot more. But if we become envious and we criticize them, then, our spiritual life becomes a wreck. So first of all, we have to understand our limitations, not put false limitations upon ourselves, because if we're empowered, we can do a lot. But at the same time, some people are more empowered than others. And this has been a problem that, in ISKCON sometimes, because some people are more qualified than others, the less qualified ones, they criticize the more qualified ones, and then, it ruins their spiritual life. So this is quite a common occurrence. Anyway, but the basic thing is to treat everybody with the greatest respect. Anybody who becomes a devotee is a very rare person. And so therefore, there's that verse in the third canto. How's it go? How's it? Not that one. No, it's a very famous verse about how anybody who chants the holy name is considered to be worshipable. It's a famous verse. How's it go? Aho bhata swajgo narayan yajigrave vatate namatavyam te pustas tapaste juhuvur acharya Jiveta Yom, no, that's the wrong one.
The last one.
What's the last line? Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, anyway, so this is a very important verse because this verse says that anybody, even if they're born in a family of dog eaters, if they chant Hare Krishna, they're considered to be worshipable. It's considered they've already done all kinds of austerities and sacrifices. They've already bathed in all the holy places. They've been to so many temples. They've done so many things in their previous life, even if they're born in a family of dog eaters. But now, because they're chanting the holy name, they're considered to be worshipable. So anybody who's a devotee, anybody who's chanting the holy name is actually special. And we have to give respect to somebody who's trying to become a devotee, even if they're, neophytes, whatever. So just because somebody may be in a higher position, they have to be careful not to look down on devotees, because that's committing an offense. And I think that is also a reason why people gave up spiritual life, because they may have been in a big position in the early days, temple president, whatever it was. And, so they tend to lord it over. It's not happening here, I'm sure. You have a very nice president. But, I'm saying these are dangers that we have to respect everybody, and not just every devotee, but every living entity. Because if a devotee thinks, I'm a devotee, therefore, I can treat anybody how I like, they're all stupid because they're not devotees. That's not the right mentality. We go out preaching out of compassion. We don't want to commit offenses against people just because they're not devotees, because they're also, they need respect. They deserve respect. So some more than others. So we have to discriminate. So anyway, the bottom line is we have to be very careful how we treat devotees especially, and anybody in general. Second offense is to consider the names of the demigods like Lord Shiva, Lord Brahma, equal or independent of the name of Lord Vishnu. So this is, for devotees, we're taught from a very early stage of our spiritual life that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this isn't really such a big issue with ISKCON devotees, because we have so much evidence. There are so many prayers and instances where great demigods, they worship Krishna. Even the greatest Mahadev, Lord Shiva, he worships Krishna. You can read in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the chanting the song of Lord Shiva, 4th canto, he's glorifying Krishna. So many places where Shiva glorifies Krishna. And Brahma, of course, he tried to fool Krishna. Krishna made a complete fool of him, and he felt so embarrassed that it was very big suffering for him, because he thought he could fool Krishna, and Krishna completely fooled him. So he was embarrassed, so he composed that famous verse, Tena kampam sushamikshimana bunjana evatma kritam vibhakam, which means that if one goes on suffering the reactions of one's past sinful activities, but at the same time offers obeisances to the Lord from the core of one's heart, then one is eligible for liberation. So this is important for any person, actually, in this world, that we want to understand Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as such, Krishna, he says, Suridam Sahava Dehinam, that he is the best friend of all living entities. Krishna is everybody's friend. God is everybody's friend. So when something happens, we have to accept that this is Krishna's arrangement and this is the best thing for me, and that it's not because I didn't worship any of the demigods, because Krishna is directly controlling my life. When one becomes a devotee, we're putting our lives in Krishna's hands, and Krishna's making sure, he's making every effort to make sure that if we're sincere, he helps us in the best possible way. He takes charge of our lives, and he protects us, and he helps us, sometimes by embarrassing us, or sometimes by giving us some disease or whatever it is. It's all good. Everything that happens to a devotee is for his benefit. It's not always easy to see it like that, but that's the reality. The third offense is to disobey the order of the spiritual master. So this is a very important offense to avoid, because if you don't avoid this offense also, you'll be struggling in your spiritual life. So, the spiritual master, his goal is to spread Krishna consciousness, to help people become devotees. That's why that's everything the Guru does is really meant for the benefit of other people, because that's a Guru. So we saw with Srila Prabhupada that, he apparently seemed to go through suffering to spread Krishna consciousness. He was attacked by a cow in Vrindavan. He came to New York with no money, in the freezing cold. He just has little slippers on. It was not easy. So the famous verse is there in the 8th canto, Tapyante lokatapena sadhava prayasojana paramaradanam tadi purushasya kilatmana. It's a very important verse that the demigods, they're glorifying Lord Shiva because he drank the poison from the journey of the ocean. And drinking poison isn't really that enjoyable, even if you're Lord Shiva. But he did it. The verse explains that great personalities invariably undergo great suffering for the benefit of other living entities. Such suffering is considered to be the highest method of worship of the Lord. So, when the Guru gives an order, when Prabhupada gave an order, or our Guru, he's doing it in the interest of his disciples and of the world. And so, Prabhupada gave an order. He said, stay within my movement. Stay within my movement. And so, some devotees, they didn't stay within his movement. And they, because maybe they wanted to be leaders of the movement or something, and they weren't qualified, so they started criticizing the leaders, and they had problems. So you're all very fortunate, Bhakti-Vikas Swami is still alive. But sooner or later, the inevitable will happen. He'll go back to Godhead. So when that happens, you don't want it to be like when Prabhupada disappeared. There was a lot of confusion, and there was a lot of leadership issues. So, you need to cooperate. There's a very important verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It says, Varam vinitram vajramvo yuyam ne ripa sanatana. It says that Lord Narayan, he's talking to the Prachetas, and he says, I'm very happy with your friendly dealings amongst one another. And because of your mood of cooperation, I want to give you a benediction. So cooperation is such an important item. One time Prabhupada said that Krishna consciousness is the yoga of cooperation. So we have to cooperate. So the spiritual master, his mission is to try and help people in this material world who are suffering birth, death, old age, and disease. And so that can only be accomplished when people in the movement, they cooperate together. So this is very important to, the spiritual master wants his disciples to cooperate together. So we have to follow the instructions of the Guru. So here, like Bhakti-Vikash Maharaj was explaining this morning, he's very strict, so, you have to be very strict if you're in his Sangha. This is his order. And it's Prabhupada's order. It's not just his order. Prabhupada himself, he emphasized so much coming to the morning program, getting up early, chanting 16 rounds a day, all these things. Why? Why are these things there? He's not saying it just for fun or just to tell people what to do because he likes bossing people around. He's saying it because this is how you actually eventually free yourself from material desires. We're trying to get free from material desires. We're trying to get free from karma, which will bring us back again to the material world. So we have to follow properly. So it's not that hard once we make our minds up to do it. And everybody can start on some level. Even if you chant 4 rounds a day, whatever it is, you can build up. Chant more, chant more. But once you take a vow, 16 rounds a day, that's for life. That's forever. Even if it's difficult sometimes. Sometimes chanting is not so easy. In the beginning, it might be easy. I heard the example, when you're digging down in the ground, and the first part is the topsoil. It's easy to get through. And then you hit the rocks. And so, we might have attachments we're not really aware of at this point. And sometimes those are hard to give up. But if we stick to the process, which we're making a vow to do, then even if it's difficult, we have to keep going, keep coming, keep chanting, keep coming to the kirtan, keep reading the books. Of course, it's not that difficult. It's much easier than material life. Material life is very difficult. You see, I feel sorry for young people nowadays. Young non-devotees, they have terrible lives, actually. What is the future? We've screwed the world up for them. The whole environmental problems, so many things. So, we're trying to give people a chance to be happy. Prabhupada, he coined that phrase, chant to be happy. So, we are inducing people somehow or other to chant and be happy. And eventually, even if, we have some temporary issues as devotees, the goal or the end result will be happy. We'll go back to Godhead. So then, 4th offense is to blaspheme the Vedic literature in pursuance of the Vedic version. So the Vedas are actually non-different from Krishna. I had a verse I was going to read, but I forgot to bring it in. But Krishna says, Savasya chaham hridi sinavasto matas smriti jnanam apohanam cha vedaischa saver hama vidya vedantakrit veda eva chaham. Who says, from me come knowledge, remembrance, and forgetfulness. By all the Vedas I am to be known. Indeed, I am the compiler of the Vedas and the knower of Vedanta. So, Krishna compiled the Vedas. So if we blaspheme the Vedas, it's non-different from blaspheming Krishna. So the Vedas are perfect. And the Vedas are very important because by reading the Vedas, we get knowledge. And faith needs to be supplemented with knowledge. To have faith is one thing, but what makes your faith stronger is when you actually study the Vedas. And, Srila Prabhupada, he gave us he gave us the Srimad Bhagavatam and the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So there's so much knowledge there. The knowledge is unlimited, so the Vedas are unlimited, but at least we can start by reading those books. And those books are enough to actually convince us that Krishna is such a nice person, and the devotees are so wonderful. And when you read about the devotees, you realize where you're at, because if you read about Sanatana Goswami or Rupa Goswami or Raghunath Das Goswami, they're such great personalities that it's very humbling when you hear about them. So therefore, it's very important to read the books and understand what a real devotee is. Like in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says that we're trying to become devotees. We're not really devotees, because if we compare ourselves to these great devotees, what are we? So, we're trying to become devotees because a devotee is a very elevated position. So we shouldn't blaspheme the Veda literature because the Vedas are actually means of escape from material life. And then the fifth offense is to, what's the fifth one? To give some, no, that's the sixth one. Give some mundane interpretation on the holy name of the Lord. Is that it? So the holy name is actually none different from Krishna. And of course, there are different meanings to each word in the mantra, which are explained by the acharyas. And like one of the meanings is Hare means, "O Lord, please help my mind be attached to you. Let my attention be upon you." And different meanings for each of the different words in the mantra. But ultimately, Prabhupada said, we are accepting Hare as Krishna's Hara, Krishna's feminine energy, and we're saying, "Oh Lord, please engage me in your service." That's what Prabhupada told us it means. Krishna means your attractive person, and Rama means the reservoir of pleasure. But you can expand on all these 16 names, and they all have very wonderful meanings. Like, for instance, let my mind be always absorbed in thoughts of your pastimes with Radharani, your pastimes with Krishna, etc. But we shouldn't give any mundane interpretation. It's a totally spiritual sound vibration. If we chant it, we'll get the result. And the result is there. If we study Shikshastakam, the result is Yugayitam Nimeshena Chukshusha Prabhushayitam Sunyayitam Jagatsavam Govinda Virahena Me, which means, "Oh Lord, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain. I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence." So this is the advanced stage. It may take a few lifetimes to get there. But we're making a vow that we will inevitably, guaranteed, reach that stage of love of God if we stick to the process. We don't have to interpret the name. So what's the sixth offense? What is it? Just explain that one. I can't see that far. I just did. Oh, okay. Yeah, we should have faith in the holy name. That it's actually, we may not be rolling on the ground when we chant our japa. Sometimes we hear of personalities who, when they chant, they become very ecstatic, like Haridas Thakur and he doesn't feel any pain, or he's completely absorbed in thoughts of Krishna. This is a very advanced stage. But the fact is that if we chant, we'll find that our material attachments will go away. Even if we don't feel, even if our eyes aren't filling with tears and we're not shivering in ecstasy, or hairs aren't standing on end, still the fact is that our material desires will go away. This is the process of Krishna consciousness, a foolproof process that if we follow it, gradually we'll see the material world for what it is. It's not our real home. It's a place where people are suffering their karma, even if they think they're enjoying. It's all suffering because it's very temporary. You get attached to the enjoyment. So this is the world of karma. We're trying to get free from the world of karma. We're trying to go back to Krishna's abode. Krishna's spiritual abode is so beautiful. Even here in the material world, there's so many beautiful places, so many beautiful trees and mountains and lakes and rivers and beautiful fruit. But the spiritual world is just, every living entity is fully conscious. Everything is made of touchstone. The trees, they're bowing down with fruit, they're bowing down to touch Krishna's feet in Vrindavan. So there's Vrindavan. Krishna didn't even want to live in Dwarka. Dwarka is the most beautiful city. It's not like New York or London or anywhere. It's all made of marble and gold and diamonds and lapis lazuli, and so beautiful. But Krishna preferred Vrindavan. So we're trying to, Prabhupada gave us Vrindavan. He built that temple, Krishna Balaram temple in Vrindavan. And so we should fix our minds on Vrindavan. We want to go back to Vrindavan. Next offense is to commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. Prabhupada was very emphatic that this is one of the biggest sins, actually, is to commit offenses, commit sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy name. So if you do sinful activities, if you go out and eat cows or whatever it is, but you think, oh, well, no, it's okay, I'll just chant Hare Krishna, it'll be fine, and I'll be forgiven. So Prabhupada gave the example of course, we love Christ, but he said that the Christians, they say, Jesus has accepted all my sins, so I don't have to worry. I can keep sinning because Jesus will suffer for my sins. So Prabhupada said this is like, if you kill somebody and the police come to arrest you, and you say, well, it's okay, I did it, but my brother's willing to suffer for me. Go see my brother. So this is the wrong mentality. So we have to be very pure in our life. It doesn't mean we're going to become perfect overnight. In fact, there's a verse in the 11th canto which explains how even if a devotee is sometimes engaged in sense gratification, jato shraddha makatasu nivina savakameshu, it's an important verse, but it means that even if a devotee is sometimes engaged in sense gratification, he should not feel unhappy. He should genuinely regret his offenses, but at the same time he should remain happy and he should carry on with his spiritual life. 11th canto, chapter 20, text 24, 25. It's an important verse because not everybody's going to become perfect very quickly. And we have to cater for everybody. We have to try to engage everybody in devotional service according to the level that they can follow, even if it just means being a vegetarian and chanting one round a day. So The eighth offense is to, what is it?
The chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra as one of the auspicious rituals.
Okay, yeah. So chanting Hare Krishna is beyond karma. The karma kanda means that people perform certain pious activities to get some material result. We're not trying to get a material result. We should be sick of material results. We're sick of the material world, because it's easy to say that when you're old like me, but when you're young, it's not so easy to see it like that. But even so, you can practice Krishna consciousness, and you can still akama sava kamava moksha kama durati. That even if you're full of material desires, if you're desireless, still, if you become a devotee, you worship Krishna, you reach perfection. So we're not, following, chanting Hare Krishna for some auspicious material result mentioned in the Vedas in Karma Kanda section. Ninth offense is to instruct a faithless person about the glories of the holy name. So, we don't explain very intimate things in Krishna consciousness to people who are not qualified to hear. The Vedas themselves are very difficult to understand in one sense, that if you're not qualified, you won't understand them. Especially if you read the books of the six Goswamis. They're written in code language, which is very hard to break the code. Because if you're not qualified, you won't understand it. So, but if you try to explain things that for an ordinary person will bewilder them and decrease their faith in God, then that is an offense. So we try to keep it simple, and whatever we say, we should be able to explain it in a logical way that people can't reject. So we should learn to preach logically so that people can understand that, we're not fanatics. We don't say things which don't have a logical reason. Of course, Krishna's blue. Maybe that's not logical, but blue's a nice color. Krishna wants to be blue, let him be blue. But, so we should learn to preach to where people are at. We shouldn't try to give them too esoteric information when they're not qualified. And the 10th offense is actually to maintain material attachments, even after understanding so many instructions on this matter, and to be inattentive while chanting. So a lot of our offenses spring from being inattentive, because if we chant attentively, then automatically we will become purified. So if we don't chant seriously, then that is an offense, because he's a person. Krishna's not different from his name. So if we chant lazily or inattentively, it's like ignoring Krishna. If you, like I read about, there's one book, Prem Vilas, it explains that Prahlad Maharaj, there's one explanation of why Prahlad Maharaj, he actually became Haridas Thakur. There's different explanations. This is one book called Prem Vilas. It said that Prahlad Maharaj, he was doing his deity worship, he was worshipping his form of the Lord, and some great devotee came, but he ignored them. He was so focused on his deities. So the point is that, we have to be attentive to the holy name, but at the same time, we have to move in the material world, and we have to present ourselves as sane, logical people by the way we behave. So if we actually chant nicely with attention, then automatically we'll make progress, and automatically all our material desires will disappear. So there's a very nice verse, which I'll finish with, which is in the 11th canto, 14th chapter. It says, Akinchanasya dantasya shantasya mama chetasa maya shantasya mama, means that one who desires nothing within this material world, whose consciousness is equal in every situation, then he remains happy wherever he goes. I can't remember the whole translation, but if somebody is free from material desires and they're happy in any condition, and they can think of Krishna, then they're happy wherever they go. So that's the ultimate goal, that we might have some material desires, and that's Varnashram, is to kind of within a spiritual structure to fulfill those desires, and then ultimately become detached from material life and go back to Godhead. So these 10 offenses are very important. If you follow these offenses, you'll get the result. You'll remain happy, you'll go back to Godhead, and the world will be a better place. So please try to follow nicely, and Krishna will bless you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Adikarta Prabhu ki
Jai.
Haribol.
Yummy, madanga.
Madanga?
Where's she?